Welcome to Film Forum Presents, a podcast featuring special live events recorded at our theater located at 209 West Houston Street in downtown Manhattan. In this episode, Film Forum presents director, writer, producer, and actor Robert Downey Jr., who appeared in person on May 20th, 2016, for an interview with Film Forum's director of repertory programming, Bruce Goldstein. They chatted following a showing of his 1969 underground comedy Putney Swept on the opening night of a Downey retrospective. And here's Bruce to introduce the podcast.
Before the invention of frozen orange juice, you didn't have to say freshly squeezed orange juice. Orange juice was orange juice. Likewise, before Robert Downey Jr. became a superstar, you didn't have to call his old man Senior. He was just Robert Downey. And among aficionados of certain kinds of what used to be called underground movies, just as big a superstar. So when in May 2016 I did a Bob Downey festival, I called it Robert Downey, the original, because he is a true original. Bob's a native New Yorker and as authentic and down-to-earth as they come. He's 6'3", but larger than life. A gentle giant, lovable and erudite and brimming with good humor. And his knowledge of movies is unsurpassed, except perhaps by his wife Rosemary Rogers. Between them, they put me to shame. I sat down with Bob after a screening of his masterpiece, Putney Swept. Here's our conversation.
First of all, everyone wants to know this. How did this Prince business come about?
Well, we were in the editing room and just talking about some nonsense on an earlier film. And somebody said, "Bob, you're a Prince." I said, "Put it in the fucking movie."
That's it?
That's it.
Oh, and it stuck?
Yeah, it stuck for a while. Then I got bored with it.
But you're only half Jewish.
That's true.
Okay. So Vincent Canby's original review in the Times called Putney Swept funny, sophomoric, brilliant, obscene, disjointed, marvelous, unintelligible, and relevant. Still true today. Except maybe obscene, because standards have changed. I mean, you could see some of this stuff on Nickelodeon today, but and also movies like this helped lower or raise the standard of obscenity. But everything in the movie is still relevant, I think, except that everything is worse. Would you say?
That makes sense.
But in the Voice this week, you said that political satire is over. What do you mean by that?
With the recent, stuff going on, it's over. How can you make fun of this? It does itself.
So who do you think would make the best president?
I
Mimeo?
think Hillary should pick Elizabeth Warren to run with her.
Here. I agree with you.
Double down.
Right. I think Mimeo and his wife would make a good team. So you worked in advertising for 2 years?
Well, I worked at a place that made commercials for ad agencies.
And
a place called Filmex.
So I was reading I was doing a lot of research, apparently in magazines that were full of bullshit. You said a lot of it wasn't true, but one article said you try to cleanse yourself of that experience in the advertising world by making this movie.
Well, I witnessed a lot of stuff going on that nobody knew I was watching.
Like?
So a lot of it's based on things that happened. Like in the movie, the guy comes in and asks for a raise. That really happened.
A black
black
employee.
guy working with what I was doing said, "You make more money than me." I said, "Let's go see the boss. This is funny." And we went in there, and the boss gave the same rap that's in the movie. "If I give you a raise, I got to give everybody a raise, and I'll be right back where we started." I said, "That's enough to make a movie."
Actually, that's an old vaudeville routine. Really, I'm serious about it.
I
is.
had no idea.
It is, yeah. And he also apparently made some of the same kind of ridiculous pitches at this agency as they do in the movie that never became commercials.
Well, we didn't make, although they did give me and the black guy and another guy's weekends to make any commercial we wanted about anything. So this was heaven. And once in a while the boss would say, "Let's show that to the agencies."
But they never got aired.
No, the one was about Preparation H. And I think this Asian girl beckons the camera and comes up close and she says, "No matter what your ethnic affliction, use Preparation H, and kiss your hemorrhoids goodbye. So they sent that around to festivals and stuff. So we were having fun.
How come that didn't end up in Putney?
It's in No More Excuses.
Oh, No More Excuses, of course. You told me that at a screening recently, a guy in a bow tie came up to you.
No, that was way back in the late 60s. At Temple University, we did one of these.
Yeah.
Only there was nobody helping me like you.
Oh, okay.
And after it was over, this guy came up to me in a bow tie, and he said, I want to thank you for getting me into advertising. And I said to myself, I really don't know what I'm doing. That's true.
Have you been in touch with this guy? See what happened to him? You know, I didn't see this first run. I was still into James Bond. I think I caught it later at the Bleecker Street or the Elgin. It played around for years on double bills with Greaser's Palace and Pound. I remember playing it in my own Repertory theaters, but I'll never forget at the time seeing the original ad and the original poster. Raymond, can we see the first slide? This was the original ad campaign. This was considered really daring at the time. This is the finger, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Was this your idea?
No, the distributor, who was a great guy,
Don Rugoff.
he brought this in to show everybody. Dienerhauser was the ad agency. And I said, this looks better than the movie. And Rugoff said, shut up, don't say that anymore.
And this was the ad, too? Most paper...
Yeah.
But they wouldn't run this in most papers.
They ran it was kind of like not all the finger, and and then they put the posters up in Boston, people rip them down.
Really?
Stuff like that, yeah.
Oh, wow. But do you consider Putney an underground movie? It's not...
That's a good question.
Yeah, because in one interview you said it's not an underground movie because I was concerned about focus, for example.
Yeah, why not?
But also, underground movies don't make money, and this one made a lot of money.
I didn't make much.
Oh, that's right. How much did you make?
Well, they kept taking part of my salary away because we were going over budget. The total budget of this thing was like $275,000.
Which is a big jump from your last movie, which was $12,000 for Chafed Elbows, right?
That's right.
So what did you do with all that money? You shot it in 30...
That was for the film.
And the actors? You paid the actors.
Yeah, but I think I got $10,000, which back then was okay.
$10,000. That's it?
Yeah.
We'll give you something a little extra tonight. But this was a huge hit. People forget what a phenomenon this movie was. And it didn't open downtown like your other movies in the little theaters like the Bleecker. It opened uptown, Cinema 2, opposite Bloomingdale's, Plush Theater, played to a mainstream audience. Why do you think it was such a hit?
Well, because the distributor owned all the theaters in New York, Don Rugoff.
Well, he owned all the art houses.
Right.
Yeah.
So he said, we couldn't get anybody to take the film. And my other films were easy because they were distributed by the Bleecker Street Impact Films in the back.
What was it called? The independent, the cooperative, Filmmakers Co-op?
Yeah, that's something else. Rugoff came to a screening and there was nobody else left to show it to. And he came in as he was leaving. He said, "You the guy who did this?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I don't get it, but I like it. And I'm going to open this thing in a couple of weeks if you're interested." I said, "Oh, yeah, it was great." And he owned Cinema 2, 1, 2, 3.
The Sutton, the Beekman.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Most beautiful theaters.
And he really loved movies.
He sure did. Yeah. And Vincent Canby gave it a rave review in the Times. That couldn't have hurt in those days. And then a mention on The Tonight Show.
I was on there twice. In fact, Jane Fonda's really the person who put this on the map. I wasn't there that night, but she said to Johnny Carson, Easy Rider's great, but there's another film I want to tell you. And the next day, Rugoff called me and said, the box office is up because of her.
I'm sure Peter Fonda must have loved his sister for that. It was such a phenomenon that it even got a very big spread in that most mainstream of magazines, Life. Robert Downey makes vile movies. This was a 6-page spread in Life magazine. This kind of thing doesn't happen anymore. It said in Life that you dropped by the theater to see if anyone walked out. Is that true?
I was used to walkouts, and then I wanted to see how it was doing uptown. From the Village films, people would walk.
Well, according to the magazine, if no one walked out, you'd take to your bed for 2 days. That's what it said in the article.
That's not true.
But that's what it said in Life.
I know.
So we have this original magazine. We posted it in the case outside, and I was struck by an ad that was right in the middle of the article, placed right in the... Let's see the next one. This ad. This is not a scene from Putney Swept. I mean, it really could be from Putney Swept. She even looks a little like the dancer. She's a sleek model in a gown. This is what you're satirizing, and they put it right in the middle of the article. I think they knew what they were doing when they did that.
I have a relative, all he talks about is Lucky Airlines. It's all he says when we come to, oh, can I see that again?
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
All these years, and his wife, she knows too, so...
I was wondering about Lucky Airlines. Doesn't it go on a little too long?
Probably.
I mean, it's a little gratuitous, don't you think?
How do you think we got the girls to do that?
You tell us.
It took too long.
This has the wildest cast of any movie I can think of. It's non-professionals and method actors, basically. But you say you had the most trouble with the pros.
Put it this way. There was one guy, and you just saw him, in the white jacket, who says, you want to die? Are you ready to die? That guy. He was a pimp who 1 or 2 nights a week would say, I have to go out for 2 hours. Does it matter? I wasn't saying anything other than, yeah, go ahead, Vince. And then we found out he was a pimp.
And you had a wino in there?
Oh, the guy in the alley sleeping outside there. He was a Bowery guy, and we gave him some money to not move.
That wasn't too hard. And how did you cast Arnold Johnson as Putney? Was he your first choice?
No, I actually met Jimi Hendrix in a restaurant, and I said, would you be interested in being in a movie? He said, call William Morris, and he gave me the number, and I called the guy, and he said, he's on tour. He's not going to be in any movie. And then I got this other guy, L. Errol J., who was great, and he was afraid of doing a non-union film. And then the next guy in was the guy that you see in the movie. And little did I know he couldn't remember one word. And so that's the cameraman said, don't worry about it. You can't see his lips moving. You can put in anything you want later. Don't worry about it. And that's what happened.
And that is not his voice. Whose voice is it?
That's mine.
You did the whole movie.
Yeah.
And a lot of other voices. Can you do a little more? Can you do a little more of that for us, please?
What did you say?
Suddenly you've changed color and you've got a beard all of a sudden. I noticed you did a lot of other voices in the movie, though. Did you do some women voices?
That was Elsie.
Elsie, your wife Elsie, who otherwise doesn't appear in it. But she has how many parts in Chafed Elbows?
Anywhere from 15 to 20.
Before anyone asks this question, what did Mel Brooks do in this movie?
Nothing.
Why is he in the credits?
Because at the end of a night's work, we were in people's offices. You had to sign in and sign out if you were an extra or whatever. And somebody just signed Mel Brooks, and I'd never even thought of it till I saw it on the screen.
A bunch of the people in this movie went on to pretty big careers. Antonio Fargas, the guy in the Arabian headdress, became Huggy Bear on Starsky and Hutch, and he was in a lot of blaxploitation like Foxy Brown. Alan Garfield, a few years later.
Car Wash.
And Antonio.
Yeah.
Not Alan Garfield. No, Alan Garfield was in The Conversation only a few years later.
That's
the
right.
Coppola movie. And there's Alan Arbus, who was married to Diane Arbus, who was in Greaser's Palace after this.
She died when we were making that film.
Yeah, but everyone else is an amateur.
I don't know. They seem to be pretty good to me.
Well, they're great. They're great. But you said you had most trouble with the method actors.
Oh, that's right. Mr. Greaser came to me one day. He said, am I God or the devil? I said, what do you care? And then he said, I have all these guns on my body. I don't know. And I said, don't worry about it, Al. He said, okay. That was it.
Reminds me of the scene in Hail Caesar with Christ on the cross. Remember? Did you?
Yeah,
not the one you were in. He was in a movie called Hail Caesar, not to be confused with the Coen Brothers movie. Should we open it up to questions?
Sure.
When you look at the film now, do you ever feel that the joke about throwing the Jew on the fire was inappropriate?
Put it this way: that was a Nazi. The Borman 6 guy. He was evil. He was a creep. And so everybody smoked grass then, and then he just threw that in there, and I thought it made sense.
You want him to politically correct this movie at this late date?
No, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, it's kind of shocking to see.
Oh, yeah.
There's a few things that are... What taboos did you break in this movie for movies? There were a lot. Like, you never saw black people having sex in movies before this, or midgets. What other?
The midgets were great. There were 5 of them that came into audition from Queens, and the manager said, "This is my group. Take who you need, whatever." So I picked out 2 of them, and they happened to be brother and sister.
Was that?
They end up in bed together.
They were brother and sister?
Yeah.
Really?
That's true.
Wow.
And one of them
was
was
quite good, by the way.
They were. And then one of them was in the Tin Drum.
Really?
Yeah.
I knew you had something in common with Volker Schlondorf.
Another Nazi.
No, he's not. No, he's a very nice guy. Terrific guy.
I'm half Jewish, too. Does that help?
It was the other half that wrote that line.
I didn't write anything.
Was ad-libbed?
Actually, the producer of the film came to us after it was done. He said, "You got to take that out." And the editor was with me, and he's looking at me like, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "I'm not taking it out." And he said, "You got to take it out." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because of what it says." And I said, "I'm half Jewish." He says, "I don't give a fuck. I want it out." And we almost got into a fist fight. And finally he said, "Okay," and that was it.
Was that the only contentious moment in the production, or was
yes,
there other?
With him, yeah, the producer, that was it.
They didn't have any objection to the use of beaver in that sense. That was a first for movies too, I think. Let's go on to another.
You guys talked about casting a little bit earlier, but I really want to know about the casting for the commercials in particular. Did they know the whole story of the movie? Did they know what was happening going in?
Good question. No, we shot that all separate with very few people from the main thing around. And the girl in the alley, with a great-looking girl dancing with a whatever. Paul Anderson loves that. He'd like to watch that for a week. So we lucked out in the color, because mainly we shot black and white, so the color would stand out. And we lucked out with the people. The people from Hair are the ones in that Face-Off commercial.
That's where I know the boy.
Yeah, that's Shelley Plimpton's.
No, I remember his voice on the Hair LP. Lovely voice.
Yeah, Ron Dyson.
Ron Dyson, that's
great.
right. Yeah.
If you made your first movie for $12,000, how did you get?
No, $3,000.
All right. How did you
then
get?
Then came 12.
Well, how did you get 20 times the amount for this movie? How did you manage to?
Lucked out with this guy. He went up to William Morris looking for something like Milton Berle or somebody. And the agent talked him into reading this thing, and they went to see Chafed Elbows. And we got together, and it was, it was interesting to see a guy ready to finance something like this. It was a big deal for me. There was one moment, this is kind of weird. One night he said, you got to, we were having dinner. This was the night that was all going to be, this is it or forget it. And he said, there's one word on page, whatever it was, the word mum, and he started motherfucker, that. And his wife said, shut up and give him the money, Arthur. I almost threw up. And then we went and made the movie.
So his name was Arthur. I thought he was anonymous. Now we know his name. No,
he's on there.
Somewhere. Is he?
Well, his production company.
Oh, okay. I thought he was in the rug business or something.
No, he was a financier. And he did this. He had a pretty good sense of humor, too.
Apparently.
And then he did another film called Congees Harvest, directed by Ossie Davis. And it didn't do well, and he called me up and said, the blacks have let me down.
What is the reaction of this film with black audiences?
Both.
It's mixed.
Yeah.
Today, a white director couldn't satirize black culture like you did.
I think that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, but it's fairly well regarded among black audiences. I think so. I've heard good things. Henry Louis Gates likes it. I know that.
That's right. He said it got his whole team to think that they could open a business or something.
What?
He came to my house to photograph me in that show about when you go back in time.
They tried to do your family history with your son, right?
Yeah.
And Rosemary, your wife, told me that the guy doing the research was full of shit. But they
It
had
was
you.
horrible.
They had you, descended from revolutionaries, American revolution. You're a son of the American Revolution, according to this guy. It's not true.
No.
Okay, good. Glad to hear that.
Hi, I was wondering if you've seen the film Pootie Tang, because it seems like it's a pretty direct homage to this film.
I've heard about it. Christine keeps telling me about it. I'll check it out.
I've noticed a few times I've seen this movie that a lot of the takes will continue maybe twice or three times as long as you might expect them to. Were a lot of those scripted, or would you just leave the camera rolling and see what would happen?
Both. I mean, I was lucky to be able to write this script in a hurry, in a couple of months, maybe even less, and then organically let it kind of reveal itself as we went along. So if somebody was like Tony Vargas, who plays the Arab guy, was in a Broadway play, so we only got him around 11 at night, and he'd come over and say, "What am I doing?" We'd tell him, he'd just jump in and do it. He was 21 years old then, playing an 80-year-old guy in Great White Hope, so I knew what I was getting.
You used the Chase Manhattan, David Rockefeller's boardroom at Chase Manhattan. How did you manage that?
I didn't. The guy who produced the film, the stuttering guy,
Yeah.
he knew somebody at Chase and got us that thing. And it's a kind of funny thing. We were not allowed out of the conference room unless we had to go to the bathroom. We couldn't go out. So in the beginning, all the black guys were underneath that conference table. And when they took over, all the white guys had to go underneath the table. That was a great day.
So, except for the token white guy, of course. Well, and the white guys had to be under there longer than the black
That's
guys.
right.
You grew up in right in this neighborhood, didn't you?
I spent time here, yeah.
I mean, right around the corner on Washington
Washington
Place.
Place,
And you've
yeah.
lived in the village a lot. Well, we've got some family snapshots, courtesy of your wife, Rosemary. You mind if we show these? He knew about it. It's okay?
Yeah.
All right, let's take a
Am I
look.
blocking anybody here?
Now you'll be okay. There you are with your sister and your mother. Now she is a stunner, your mother. Can you tell us about her?
I'd rather not.
Really? Can I tell them about her?
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, she was the top model of her day, no? I mean, we're going to talk more about her during Chafed Elbows, which is about a guy who sleeps with his mother. But she was a Powers girl, which was the top modeling agency in the world at the time, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't Betty Ford a Powers girl, the first lady? And Betty Bacall, Lauren Bacall?
I don't know.
We'll do a whole evening on the Powers girl, okay?
There must be a film about
There is a film.
Yeah.
They were made in the 40s. Adolphe Manjou. That's your mom, who you'd rather not talk about. When she was fashion editor at Glamour, she looks a little Edie Bealish here. It's a little later, but it's a nice photo. It looks like someone like Avedon or someone would have taken that. You want to take a look at these, Bob? I need your help here. That's you, looking very normal. Never knowing this mop top would be a future anti-establishment icon. And your sister and some neighborhood kids. Well, you're hurling a football in this one.
I know that one.
Okay. But you were a jock, right?
Yeah.
You were a Golden Gloves boxer?
Until I got beat.
Oh, well. And you were a pitcher,
Yeah.
semi-pro. Didn't you once pitch against the Yankees?
I was in a stockade. Here we go with stuff that's kind of embarrassing. I was in a stockade
This is
in
the juicy
Okinawa.
stuff, yeah.
It's not juicy. And I was a pitcher before I got in trouble and was in the stockade. And the Yankees toured every year in the Far East. So they took me out of the stockade to pitch an inning or two. And I hadn't thrown in a while. So I did okay for about 10 seconds. And somebody hit a triple and I was right back in the stockade.
But you did break a prep school record.
That's true. And St. Paul's out in Garden City, yeah.
That's probably the only positive thing you did in prep school, I'm guessing. But what? Tell us the record. It's pretty impressive.
I think I had 17 strikeouts in
7 innings.
7 innings, yeah.
Amazing. 17 guys struck out in 7 innings. Pretty good. Still holds?
I don't know.
I don't know. Okay, next one. Okay, here I think you're just going into the Army? Oh, you've got holes in your trousers there.
No, I'm in Alaska.
Oh, you're in Alaska.
In the summer.
Oh, this is when you got one of your court-martials, right?
One of the three.
Yeah, one of the... I've been researching. This is my favorite court-martial, this one. The Alaska is absolutely the best court-martial of your three.
I can't do that
Oh,
one.
can't we tell that one?
No.
See me in the lobby. Okay, next one. Okay, this is you after. Now, talk about Greaser's Palace. I mean, did you ever consider modeling?
No, that was just one shot out of many that turned out okay.
All right, you're being really helpful with this. Next. Okay, this is a play, The Andersonville Trial. It's a playbill. That's George C. Scott.
That's right.
What did you have to do with this?
A friend of mine was the producer of that thing, and he said to me, listen, I know you're not doing too well with the writing. Why don't you come be an extra in the play? George Scott was really intense, and we would stand there in the courtroom every night at the Civil War uniform. That's why I got the idea to go out and make the film.
Your first movie,
the Civil War
short, the short, which later you incorporated in No More Excuses.
Yes.
Yeah.
So George Scott wouldn't allow any foolishness, so we wouldn't fuck around at all during this play, being extras. So this guy who plays the German guy every night would be angry as hell and this and that and that and this. But George would walk around the stage and look at us once in a while, and we'd get nervous because he was so intense, okay? So Albert Decker, who was in the play, used to come by where we were and pull his fly down and try to get us to laugh in this intense kind of thing. And this went on every night. And we were terrified that we were going to break down laughing. And Jose Ferrer, who directed this play, came in one night, and we didn't know he was watching, and he came back and he said, what's going on? And George finally figured it out, what was going on, and he came over to Decker and he says, I'll accept your apology. No, Decker said, I'll accept your apology in my dressing room. And then it kind of calmed down after that, but that was embarrassing.
I bet they don't know Albert Decker, most of these. He was Dr. Cyclops. Remember that movie?
Yeah, kind of.
He had kind of a tragic
East of
end.
Eden, too.
Yeah, he's in East of Eden, that's right. Yeah, his death was kind of bizarre. We'll tell you that in the lobby, too. But then that gave you the idea for the short, right? The Civil War theme? You played
this uniform should be walking around Manhattan.
So you dressed up in Civil War, and you wandered. It was a time warp. It was like a Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah.
The Civil War guy from the Civil War walking around Manhattan. And then you had another run-in with the Yankees, right?
Oh, that's right, yeah. We wanted him because he was a Yankee soldier to run into a thing that says Yankee Stadium, and then I said, and somebody in a Civil War uniform will walk on the field, and nobody would do it, so I did it. And so what we did was 2 cameramen went in with me, and at a certain part of what inning, I put on the Civil War thing, and they get ready, and I walked on the field. And it was insane. And then when they got me downstairs, they said, what's going on? I said, well, there's 2 camera guys who are making a film and blah, blah, blah. And the guy said, where are they? I said, they'll be here any minute. They smartly went to the lab and put the 100-foot rolls in, came back with junk stuff in the camera, and they ripped that up and said, you're lucky you're getting out of here, or if you had gone near Mickey Mantle, you would have been shot. And then we had the Daily News talked about the incident. And the next day, we put it in the film, so when he gets thrown out of Yankee Stadium outside, he picks up a newspaper and reads about it. So we just lucked out.
And you could see that performance in No More Excuses. You incorporated it into the feature, which we're playing in the festival. That's your first wife, Elsie, who played such an important part in your earlier films.
Yeah, she played a lot of women.
And Chafed Elbow, she has...
And Turquoise, too, another 15,
yeah. I can never remember the title.
2 tons of turquoise to Taos tonight.
You have to say that 10 times fast. And here you are with your newborn son. Why'd you name him Junior?
Mistake.
Didn't you know he'd be living in your shadow for the rest of his life? He actually made...
it's the other way around.
He actually made his film debut in one of your movies.
Yep.
He was a natural.
Well, we couldn't find a babysitter that day, so we brought him in. And he knocked it out.
If you had a babysitter that day, there may be no Iron Man. You
That's
never
right.
know.
Who knows?
Who knows? Are you and your son close?
We have a lot of laughs.
Oh, well, that's good enough. He had some rough times, and
Oh, yeah.
yeah, but you were. We have a great picture of the two of you taken about 20 years ago. Last slide. You're almost too angelic in this picture. See the halos there.
Actually, he interviewed me, and the photographer said, should you guys each have chainsaws and we can go? And Robert said, get the fuck out of here.
Must be great to have a kid you don't have to send money to, though.
That's funny.
Any more questions from the audience?
At the beginning, when we're in the boardroom the first time, and Mario has died, the guy who's calling out over and over and over again, how many syllables, Mario? Now, that goes on and on and on. It's really great. Now, that sort of, I assume it was scripted, but the fact of that much repetition, was that planned?
No, he did it once, and I said, don't stop. That happens a couple of times with the Borman 6 girl has got to have soul. That guy knew to do that.
He was an amateur, obviously, but some of these amateurs went on to have careers. What was his name?
Joe Fields.
No, the other guy, Nathan. Who played Nathan?
Oh, Stan Guy. I met him in a phone booth.
But I looked his credits up. He had 10 movies after that.
Oh, he was in Anderson tapes.
And he's not very good. But he had a credit, I guess.
He was great. He was in Pound. He played a boxer, if you can imagine.
And Arnold Johnson got other parts as a result of this. You told me a story the other day. Director called you up complaining.
Oh, that he couldn't learn his lines. I said, you should have told me earlier.
Never checked with you.
Right.
He should have had you dub the voice for the new movie, too, I guess.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Too late.
In the scene when the maid's getting bitched out, there's a part where I think I hear Chafed Elbows, the opening credits start. What was your reason for doing that? It's in the background.
They're watching Chafed Elbows on TV. Is that what we're talking
That's
about?
called an homage. They do that in movies all the time.
I didn't know what else to put on there.
It's a little in-joke, right? You put and also you didn't have to pay for it.
Probably.
Yeah, okay. All right. One more brilliant, absolutely fantastic question, right?
I don't know if it's brilliant.
Well,
but
it's
what you get.
Okay.
Before Chafed Elbows, how many short films did you make, and do you remember where you used to show them?
It was a place called the Charles Theater on Avenue A or B.
B.
Big. Thanks.
That's Charles right over there, I think.
No, but I was another one of them.
And the whole thing with that theater was you would bring in whatever film you made and would go on a stack of other films up in the projection booth. So you'd sit there sometimes for days waiting for your film, and sometimes there'd be nobody there and whatever. But Walter, the guy who ran it, just loved doing that. It was so pure in a way. Everybody knew their film would be shown in the theater. Because none of this stuff's getting on TV. And that was one. The Gate Theater is one that was a tiny little place on 10th Street and 2nd Avenue, I think.
Bleecker.
The Bleecker would have midnight screenings.
But you played Chafed Elbows. It ran on a double bill with Scorpio Rising for a year?
After the Gate, yeah, it ran for a big deal.
Oh.
Scorpio Rising, people thought I made that one, which was quite embarrassing.
Do you remember the Garrick?
The Garrick. Do you remember the Garrick?
Yeah, I had a film there, too. Babbo 73 played there for a couple of months. Exactly. That was a good one. Mothers of Invention played there for a year.
Well, this is playing for a week, Putney Swept, and we're really happy to have you here.
We have one more question.
And
we're just one more. Could I ask?
It better be brilliant.
What was the B word at the end of the chairman's speech?
I have no idea.
That's a great answer. So Bob will be back with us on Sunday afternoon with Chafed Elbows, in which we'll get you to talk about your mother.
Thanks for listening to Film Forum Presents. If you like what you just heard, please be sure to subscribe to get future episodes and rate and review so that more movie lovers can find us. Film Forum is an independent, nonprofit cinema, and our doors have been kept open for nearly 50 years thanks to the invaluable support of our members and donors. Please visit www.filmforum.org for details on membership, as well as information and showtimes for our current programming. See you at the movies.